Hello and welcome to Peaceful Rebellion. Well, we are here with Kerry the Corsi. Hello, Kerry.
Hello. How are you?
I'm
I'm a
super
bit
duper.
I'm a bit like a stallion that's sort of like gagging at the bit to get going in all this.
Well, let's get going. Let's get going. Hey, first of all, your name on Telegram is Captain Lady Kerry the Corsi.
hmm
Tell me about that name.
Right. So when all the EBS started in March 2020 and we started to learn about the realm, I was listening to a lot of these legal conversations, and there was somebody on the chat that said you should, if you can get captain on your passport, it would be quite cool. Now, I'm not really sure if if it actually means anything really, but it actually ended up just meaning something for me. Like, I'm the captain of my own vessel.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? And then the lady is just so people don't get confused and I don't have to use him and her pronouns. And also, because we are all kings, queens, and lords and ladies of the realm, and that's been taken away from us, right? So it's just more of a kind of a little, it's not a joke, but we can do what we want, right? So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the point that I'm doing with that. So yeah.
Okay, okay. And that comes back to sovereignty, doesn't it? You know, that being
Yeah.
sovereign means that you have the crown on. You're the king or the queen of your life. Yeah.
Of your
So,
realm.
of your realm. So, Kerry, tell us, you reached out to me and said, hey, why don't we have or I suggested that we have a chat. Tell us a little bit, give us like a potted version of your background. How did you get here at this point in your awakening?
Um, well, I guess I've always been awake because I was involved in nefarious activity
Okay.
with my father and friends of his before the age of 3. So
The victim of nefarious activity, I'm assuming. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so that's I can't really talk about a lot of that because it's very intense and it would break people's brains. But what happens is when you go through that trauma-based mind control, it just puts you into a different state of being. You're on high alert forever. There's never a second that you're not aware. So, I've lived my whole life. It's been pretty crazy. So many like bizarre things have happened, but I've just managed to keep hold of the light. It's been
Hmm.
very dark and very depressing and difficult, as it has for most people. We now know that the way that this realm has been hijacked and things that have been done, it's very difficult for everyone. So I just was always aware and awake, and I always was just noticing things shouldn't be like that. And I just always found myself getting irritated with banks and why do we have to pay tax? This is, like just all the stuff that's here now. I've always been kind of complaining about. And when March 2020 rolled around, I had a friend with me who was working in Bali. So I was in Malaysia at the time when that all happened because I'd been living there for 22 years. I was married and have 2 children, 2 daughters who are 19 and 21. One's in America and one's just gone back to Malaysia. And it was just obvious straight away. And so, I think everybody got information, but most people chose not to delve into it, right?
Hmm.
But instead, they just kind of like ate food, watched Netflix, and enjoyed the holiday, or they were suffering by having no school to go to and being trapped in homes with people. And these were the things I was thinking about. I wasn't worried about toilet paper. I was worried about, oh my God, like what about all the kids? So I think my heart and soul and whatever is definitely connected to the children and what goes on. And so to me, nothing is more important than that, and everything else
Hmm.
is a distraction. So I don't know, it's just really strange. And I started to, piece things together. I did tons and tons of research, like yourself, I'm sure. I mean, probably sleep 5 hours a night, and the
Right.
rest of the time, it's always meditating and researching and checking in to see if that it resonates and stuff. So yeah, I don't even know if that's an answer.
Okay.
It's
Okay. Super. So, right. So you've done lots of research. You've probably been down so many rabbit holes, as
Mhm.
have many, and also you've been, you've experienced firsthand the dark side, let's say, of the world. Where would you say we are right now?
Ooh, I know, very amazing place, personally, I believe. But it's all dependent on your frequency. And I don't want to sound like a cliche, but we are going to come out with a lot of, little quotes. But it really is energy, frequency, and vibration. And I've always had a massive crush on Nikola Tesla. That one photograph of him where he's got that enigmatic look in his eyes, and it's just so familiar to me. And so I just kept meditating on the energy, frequency, vibration. And as we were getting all the information, and of course, it's been awful, right? It's so terrifying that the loosh, the feeding, the solar plexus energy. And so for me, it was about trying to get in charge of my emotions and in charge of my vessel. I knew that this was really important because, I mean, I should go back a little bit and say that up until before the whole coronavirus started, I had a healing center called the Body Mind Center in Malaysia, in KL, and I did a lot of quantum healing. So I was kind of really focused on the healing of the energies and not allowing fear to take over. And it really does change your reality because it's all frequency and you attract what the vibration that you're at is going to attract more of that vibration, which is why they're bombarding us with all this negativity and all this information. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And so I've decided, actually, I spoke to somebody for 6 hours yesterday. She's very similar to me. We're on the same path, probably from the same crew. And we know amazing things are coming, but we have to be ready. Each individual has to have their own relationship with the creator and come back to, even though it's almost impossible because we're literally blind and we're in the mud and we're mushrooms, aren't we? And it is almost impossible. So you have to imagine it. You've got to fake it till you make it. And the Holy Spirit, I believe, is actually our imagination, our ability to dream. So we have to be very careful of our thoughts. I know I'm preaching to the converted, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but it has to be repeated because as much as loads of people come and talk about spirituality and, how to be, they don't always do it themselves. It's really easy to talk about the theory, but actually doing it yourself, that's the hard thing. And it's only when you do it yourself that you're going to have these miraculous little things happening, and we've got to practice on ourselves. So I think we're at a place now where everybody's being pushed to go within. Everybody's being kind of removed or invited to remove themselves from the external reality, which is chaos, and go within. And I know, and I used to get really frustrated when I heard people go within, know thyself, even though I always say it, but
Sure.
it is really important and it is the key. That's where we're at. Because I think what's happening on the planet right now, I mean, people talk about bifurcation and going to New Earth, and we're not going anywhere. We're kind of suspended in space and everything's kind of happening around us. So it's like, what do we want to create around us, And that is important. So I
Hmm.
think that's where we're at. And I think amazing things are coming. I really do. I just absolutely know that there's amazing things going on in the background. And, yeah, it's going to be really cool soon.
Hmm. Good. And how do you see, because we're always talking about going forward and these things to come. What do you think it'll be like once we get through the nasty bit? What do you think it's going to be like?
I think it's going to be like one big holiday camp on planet Earth. I mean, I kind of go around and say things like, I say to the young people that I meet as I wander around the realm of Lancashire, I always say, what would you do if you weren't doing this job? Like, what's your dream?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, I don't know. Most people haven't got a clue what their dream is or what they would do if they had freedom or abundance. And again, that's really important to know, right? So it's a really great question. because we have to almost vision board. And so for me, I'd love to have like a place with animals and children that are broken, helping each other and healing each other. We're going to go around and we're going to have all these amazing technologies released. People think it's going to take forever to switch things around, but it's not. I believe once the negative frequencies have been released on the planet, and everybody's going to jump up a few levels, so it's going to be really easy to kind of get through to people. And it's literally we're going back to, the child within, which we've been taught is childish, but being childlike isn't the same as being childish. But we're all it's going to be wonderful. I don't know actually if I need to give like specifics and stuff, but I mean, I myself have declared myself as a guardian of Lancashire. I'm working with a couple of people to serve notice on several, people. And, once we've taken back our power, because it's not going to be given, our freedom and power is not going to be given, we have to take it. We have to see, we have to acknowledge what's been taken, and we have to be angry. We have to allow the rage, the righteous rage, because there's too much love and light. And that's not an energy that's going to, get everybody through it. You've got some people who can just sit and do meditation, love and light, and make beautiful music, and that's their thing. I'm definitely a warrior here to kind of say it's okay to swear, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be afraid, but ultimately we have to become responsible and grow up now.
Yeah.
And get ready to do, all this new earth isn't just going to appear. We create it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, and I just think that's where we all have to get together and start actually doing the creation instead of worrying about what the fallen are doing at the moment, which is basically absolutely panicking.
For sure, yeah. And, they want us to spend our time looking at them.
Yeah.
Because that's
giving them energy. It's all energy,
Absolutely.
Everything, your thoughts. And so, all the information that keeps coming out, and the more you do the research and you're looking at Israel and Palestine, and where I am right now, if I was to absolutely just, shut down everything, listen to this, listen to the silence. I'm in the middle of the country. It's very peaceful. I'm on my own 99% of the time, which is kind of crazy because I could never be alone before. I was always going out partying and MK Ultra'd. And it's just amazing to actually be in a space of being alone. And as I said before, that's when you are able to connect. And it's not easy. It's painful. It's hard. It feels horrific in your solar plexus and your heart. It's like, ooh. But it has to be done. We have to cry all of the, toxicity out and be vulnerable. That's how we're going to, reach the new earth vibration, which is within. I hope I'm answering your questions, because I do tend to kind of log and go on all sorts of, and I never know what I've said. I always have to read it back and go, listen back and be like, what did I say? But yeah.
So you and obviously, we're because of the platforms that we've got to be very careful how we say these things, but you were talking about, having those experiences as a child. What have you done to overcome them? How have you overcome them?
Oh, well, I haven't had any assistance because I have never been able to find anybody that could help. So, I did embark on a huge healing journey. But the thing is, I didn't realize at the time what had happened. I suspected there were a couple of incidents. He didn't live with us. He was married with another family, had an affair with my mother. He's quite famous. He is connected to a lot of the names that that you've heard. And I didn't know that at the time either, because he was never in our lives. He used to just appear and disappear. So of course that was a bit strange, right? So you already feel like you're different, always been an outcast, always been kind of bullied and ostracized, made fun of, like a lot of us, right? And, it's a very lonely experience. And my mother was very, very depressed. She was kind of bipolar, manic depressive, which I now know is something else, which we can talk about in another, which is to do with the technologies that are used on certain people to keep them down. and to cause chaos within the families. And it was only my mother, my sister, and I, but it was so intensely horrific the whole way through. I never had a chance to stop and think about, you know, what was going on with me and the healing. But I think actually the thing that did the most healing was this. I went to see one therapist, and she said, you need to write a letter to your dad. And it turned into a book. So this is age 0 to 10. And I have another 4 to do. And that was written by my soul. So I could start to kind of like acknowledge and work with some of these memories that appeared in the form of dreams or peculiar tics and habits and aversions and phobias that I had. But in that session, it was about forgiveness. She said, your dad is asking for forgiveness. And so, of course, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, it just wasn't around. But then when I realized what had happened, yeah, it was pretty intense. But I think I've tried to just take a kind of a 77,000 foot view of everything. And a couple of times when I've been kind of meditating, for a split second, I've found myself almost floating outside the realm of Earth, looking down and feeling a sense of just so much compassion, and also kind of a feeling like, oh my God, you're joking. No way. Really? Oh my God. Like, no, like a sense of, you know, like if somebody plays a prank on you and you're like, oh my God, no way kind of thing. It's that sort of a feeling, which makes me realize that all of our suffering and pain and the issues and problems in life, we create them all. You know, it's so easy to look at the external. And see, to me, what happens is first you have the feeling. I know I'm kind of going a bit off tangent with how I've overcome it, but I really do want to keep talking about this go within and dealing with the feels, as painful as it is, because you're going nowhere unless you get through that. You can't get over it. You can't get around it. You got to go through it, right? All the cliches. And yeah, I just realized as well, sorry, I'm probably jumping around now. I realized that also he must have suffered. And I know for sure my mother had an absolutely horrific life, and I'd love to write her life story as well. And in the book, it's very truthful about what went on and, you know, her bipolar, but there's a lot of compassion in it as well. My father's not really so featured in the book, except as this very strange figure that came and went and was a bit, you know, there's a few scenes in there. But it's like, again, you know, the anger and the rage is good if we can use it constructively. But if you're just wallowing around, if you're kind of flailing around on your own and you're lashing out at an idea in your head, all it's doing is hurting you. And I kind of realized quite quickly that I had to deal with that energy. And several people I went to see would say things to me like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't work with you because there's a demonic force in the corner, or there's a block and I can't get through. And that is scary, because you're like, oh my God, nobody can help me. And so because I never ever got help, because I never seemed to fit in, because it was this constant just you know, constant dramas and stuff. But I realized I was creating the drama, right? Because of my insecurity and not quite knowing who I was and kind of looking everywhere for answers. But yeah, I don't know. I just repeat to myself things, you know, like, it's okay, you're safe, it's good. You know who you are. It's in the past, it's not here now, because, you know, I truly believe there is no, you know, this is a time matrix. Everything's happening in the now. And also, when you're remembering things, you're actually time traveling. You just haven't got the strength of your pineal to create the image for your eyes to experience everything. Memories, you know, if I talk to you about a lemon and I say, oh, cut open a lemon and eat the lemon, feel that lemon juice. Ooh, you know, so that's the power of our imagination. The lemon's not there, and so when you're revisiting these traumatic events, and even if you haven't been through trauma, we're all traumatized because of the BS of the realm that's been going on around us. We didn't know it's this insidious, sneaky, you know, awfulness. Yeah, you kind of time travel each time you go back in those memories and relive that time. So you kind of plugging into the energies of that time. And so that's why you have to be the gatekeeper of your thoughts. That's why meditation is good, even though it's like so hard. What is meditation? I just say, if you can find 5 seconds where your mind is blank, you're good. And that's not an Illuminati symbol. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Okay.
different for everyone, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. So where would you say you are on your journey of healing? Out of 10, where do you think you are now?
10? No, 7 or 8.
7 or 8, yeah. So
Yeah.
you've done really well then, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a bit highly strung. I still have a lot of energy that, it's that kind of, it's like a horse energy, although I'm a dog. My Chinese horoscope, I'm a dog.
Hmm.
And I think for me, actually, I realized I need to go fully within now. I need to fully spend this time, especially because these solar flares are going to keep increasing. We have to really ground as much as we can. And I think I spoke to somebody yesterday. We're going to set up something together where we can help such traumatized victims release, because the rage I'm talking about, see, when you're an infant and you're having these things done, you don't have the ability to frame it with language. So you never can truly express what happened. Plus, of course, the soul vacates the body, but the ego, the vessel is left with the energy imprints, the negative energy imprints, and that's what creates the rage. And it's really sad. It's so terrible, because it's not like you're a grown-up and somebody does something to you and you're able to verbalize and talk and go report it to the police and whatever. It's something that's in you, and that's what creates this kind of, separation and fracturing.
Sure.
And it's about trying to bring that back together. Sorry, I think I've kind of lost my track again.
Yeah.
But never mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I mean, things like trauma. I mean, in my work, I work with people, and specifically, I work with trauma always. And what I've kind of discovered is that, just as you were mentioning about little children, when we're little children, we do two things that isn't very good, but we don't know any better because we're children. And one is that we can often blame ourselves for what happens to us because we don't perceive adults as being any other than perfect. So we have that issue as well. But also that trauma, when we get the sense that we have no escape, there is nowhere to run, and that's what happens with little children stuck in these situations. That's when trauma happens. If you've got escape, if you've got someone to run to who will protect you, then you're okay. But when you don't, that's when the trauma gets locked there. It's you were talking about time. There's only a now. Even when we think back into the past, we're thinking about the now in the past. Or we think about the future, we think about the now and the future. And so that now gets stuck there. And without, unless you can do the work, which clearly you've been doing, it's just going to be stuck there like a thorn that just constantly pokes you, So it's very important to get rid of the trauma. Very important.
It is. But I mean, I've experienced, for me, it was really painful because I would have these, it would build up so much, especially if I was wronged or bullied or, treated unfairly. It would tap into this pure rage of God as a baby. Because you know what babies are like when they're angry and they scream and they cry and they want feeding. They're not like love and light. They're like, listen to me now. And it was like this rage would come up and it would be so bad that I would end up physically beating myself in the face. I mean, I don't know how many times, or I would, just break things, and because it was just, and I could feel, and you see that it's technology so that the, other things can latch on, right, and feed. And oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm here. Honestly, I actually don't really know how I'm alive. I know why I am, but I don't know how I've done it. And it's just been constantly looking for the light, obsessed with sunsets, which we don't get. I mean, I was so excited to come back to England because Malaysia is fully gray skies. It's completely sprayed all the time.
Ah,
And it's just been so dark. But, then that makes me think, well, if it's dark out there and that's not really real, I've got to be the light. I have to be the light, and I have to imagine that there's a light and go in, time travel and
sure.
work on my imagination, strengthen my imagination. But I have got, I don't know if you've ever heard of like Mindscape or the Silver method, where you build a
Yes.
mind palace. So I was fortunate enough I studied body talk. I'm a body talk practitioner, which is amazing. It's quantum technology. It's amazing. And part of that was to do this Mindscape thing. So I actually have a healing chamber in there where I do chakra work and all this stuff. And I just put people in. Funnily enough, I put coronavirus in there at the beginning, and Mr. T and a bunch of military came into my mind space. Well, they kind of asked if they could come in and said, don't do anything with it. We need it. I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay. What's going on? I also went to Mar-a-Lago to a celebration party. Everything was in gold and white, and was told, you're too early. So
Okay.
anyway, that's a little digression there. But
Okay.
yeah.
Let me ask you a couple of questions from what you said. So we're going to come back to too early. I'll make a little note of that. Purpose. So what is your purpose then? Why are you here?
Okay, I'm going to be cliche and say I'm a way shower. Do you know?
A way shower. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, as we create the new realm, there are certain kind of laws about how we treat each other and the divinity of the flower and the plant and the water and the birds and all that, So I think I'm here as a connector and a provoker, a
Mhm.
waker-upper. I trigger people. I really do trigger people. You either love or hate me, and I get that, and it's cool. And I understand it now, and it's actually a compliment. And also, I'm aware that, what people see in me is in them, and we're all reflections. And I'm not afraid of that. I go around Lancashire on my own. I take my crochet with me, and I read books and I do my crochet, and I just try and talk to people and be there and be present and to show people and to maybe just bring a bit of calmness, which is kind of crazy because I'm very, very highly strong. And so I've got so much energy, but I just kind of sit and breathe and do my thing and talk to people. And I just want to be I'm here to say, dream and all things are possible.
Mhm.
And, if I've got through what I've got through and I've managed to publish this book and, be here in this space, then anyone can, kind of thing.
Okay. Cool. Lovely. A way shower. I like that.
Yeah.
And you said you got a message. It was too early. Too early.
Mhm.
When I commune, I commune with the emissaries, and they will not go into timelines. They don't because as you were talking about, because we're living in a frequency landscape, everything changes according to the frequency, the vibration, the energy, and so it's very difficult to try and pin down. And we've seen people who've pinned down dates and they've gone tits
Over
up.
and over and over.
Yeah, yeah. But what do you see? How do you see the timeline going? Do you think we're through the worst? Do you think we've got the worst to see? Do you think it's just going to be the same as the same thing over and over again until it ends? How do you see it?
Well, I guess I can only say how I see it, right? Because we're all
Yeah.
different. Because we're all, as you say, we're all operating at different frequencies and actually experiencing different things. So, at first I was like, oh, the EBS is going to happen. The EBS. I even remember in the first 9 months, I was in a supermarket and there was a sound that sounded like an EBS, and I got so excited. I was like, oh, it's happening! It's happening! Now, of course, I realize that that was really silly to kind of be in that space. Um, I'm over the worst. There's
Mm.
nothing, the whole thing that happened in Malaysia with the police and the mask and stuff, and that's a long story, so it's probably a separate thing. Um, that allowed me to overcome my fear completely. I was prepared to die. I was going to put the I was never going to do the satanic ritual, no matter how many police were out my door dressed in black. And so I'm over the worst. And my daughter says, Mom, I don't think it's going to be like a big sharp shock. I think it's just going to be this organic, kind of gentle unfolding and unfurling for those who wish it. I do believe that there is going to be a release of the negative frequencies that's going to give everyone a chance to be able to just, oh, bloody hell, what just happened then? What went on? And then we'll be like, hey, it's okay, do you want to come and join this celebration or whatever, I do believe that we are going to need support from certain elements like, military, the good guys. And also we are getting prepared for first contact without a shadow of a doubt. We're absolutely not alone. They're everywhere. They're all around us. They are so excited and desperate to actually finally connect. But the thing is that the majority of the planet has to be ready, right, for that. And so part of our job is to gently wake people up and get them into a space where, they can relax into themselves. You see, it's not about all the shocks of there's going to be World War III and there's going to be, it's all wrong. It's so, and I'm starting to realize that the people who are still pushing all those things, need to maybe do a bit of inner work. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think, because you said first contact, but really official contact, because
Yes, yeah.
they've been here a long while. Do you think that's why we haven't seen that kind of that alien contact, because people aren't quite ready for that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, one thing that I said from the very beginning when it was all kicking off and I was finding out all this amazing information, and I kept saying, I'm going to be here till the very end. I'm taking the last soul with me. That's what I came for, and there's nothing wrong with ascend. Like ascension is within the self, right? We don't ascend up there. We don't go outside somewhere else. It's all within. So it's the ascension, isn't it, of the energy, the Kundalini, whatever you want to call it, up to connect. And we need to get as many people to that level. But obviously the more people that are doing that has a ripple effect, doesn't it, for the whole consciousness, and other people are able to then tap into that and use that. So we're the pioneers. We're pioneers. And like I said, the way showers. But yeah, I think we want as many people, right, to be able to experience this. It's because it's a cosmic once in a, I don't think it's ever going to happen again. And there's so much, isn't there? It's not about humanity as well. Fully understood the other day. We're here to save the planet. We're here to save Earth and everything that is in and on Earth, right? And so, yeah, it's going to be awesome. So everything has to be kind of ready, right? And plus also these solar flares are really ramping up. So it seems like now is the time that it was always meant to be, now and never before.
Sure.
But it is all now. It's all now. It's all now.
It's all now. And what about, because you're kind of making reference to get as many people as we can. Do you think some people are going to be left behind?
Left behind where?
Out of the frequency.
Well, they're going to just remain in their frequency, aren't they? And then they're going to create. I think there are probably going to be a few. I mean, there's so many people who, even with everything in their face, are actually still refusing to even be polite or nice. It's but I don't know. I mean, let's see. I mean, it's everyone's journey as the frequencies are increasing and people are going through what they need to go through. I don't know. I suspect also that a lot of the ones who are unable to experience what we're going through and stay in the vessel conscious, right? So I fully believe, and this is going to sound totally crazy, but I don't care because it's real, because everything's an illusion.
There's nothing crazy these days.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
I'm like, I know I'm not going to die. I just know my vessel's I'm 53 and I feel pretty good. I've never felt as good. And, I don't eat tons of food because I don't always feel that hungry. I'm a bit of a nibbler. And I just know, I mean, I was in a bit of a state just before the EDS started in March 2020, but then I immediately started having this really high-pitched ringing in both my ears that has not left. And I now realize that this is a frequency that's changing me.
Mhm.
And I've spoken to so many people that, feel the same, and we're going through these changes. So I think a lot of those who are unable to actually process that probably have already left the realm and they're
Okay.
in a waiting room, and then they're making a choice to go somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know. I'm
Okay.
trying, yeah, I'm trying to just focus on me these days. I've spent all this 4 years going out, going, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm kind of a bit embarrassed now because I realized I'm encroaching on their free will. They don't want to know, otherwise they would. Do you know what I mean? But it's that sense of, I think I saw some terrible things as a child that, as a very small child, that I was unable to help.
Hmm.
I wasn't able to help the other victims. And so I've had this burning, awful kind of overwhelming desire to help people, but it's not always helpful. So yeah, I think we're all, people are going to different places depending on their frequency, right?
Okay. Okay.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What do you think about the talk of these new technologies like the med beds and things like that? What do you make of that?
Okay, well, so for me, for people who are able to, um, go within, get to know the vessel, reach a 0 point in the solar plexus or whatever, we are the med bed. We can absolutely heal ourselves, right? Because it's all here. But for those who are human Terrans, so we've got star seeds, right? And then we've got the human seeds, the earth seeds, and there's no difference. We're all the same, we're just from different places, right? Some of the Earth Terrans, I do believe absolutely that there are med beds, but I think they're probably consciousness based. So, if you get on one and you're miserable and you don't think it's going to heal you, it's not going to.
Okay.
And we know that everything's sound and light. So, you see all these kind of truthers and they're like posting pictures of these, like, sci-fi looking things. And I'm sure that they exist for, growing limbs or fixing broken fingers and stuff. But for other stuff, I think that just a room with scalar technology, light therapy and sound therapy, that's everything. But the problem is that the majority of people, and I was the same when I first started to get into all this stuff, I was a bit like, it's so powerful, but people just don't respect the power of it. They don't. And so if you haven't got the belief that it is actually going to heal you or help you, it won't, because it's 99% of it is in here, or 100%. It's your thoughts, isn't it? It's your beliefs.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you think, there's a saying, if you think it can and you think it can't, you're right.
That's so true. Absolutely. Yeah, we are the creators, right, of our realm. And not to be confused, I get a few kind of Christian God people who say, no, we're not the creator. Oh my God, that's so blasphemous. I said, I didn't say I'm God. I just said I'm co-creating with God, right? Because that's why we were created as fractals of source, which in and of itself is not tangible, or it's this energy that is this being, this presence that's everywhere, and it's working through us. And so it's not arrogant to think that we are this creation that God created to experience through. It's a compliment to God. It's what God wants us. The creator wants us to acknowledge that, so that the creator can then come in more and then change your life, change what seems to be on the outside, and the church and the Eucharist and the priest and the robes and that was just all put in the way. It was the veil that was to separate us from the creator, and the creator wants to know each of us, right? And wants each of us to know our own beauty and grace and glory. But when you're brought up, as most of us are, being put down, or being and comparing ourselves to these supermodels and the superstars, and by the way, we're the superstars, right? We are the superstars of this planet, and they were just, again, it was a smoke screen. It was smoke and mirrors, and a usurpation of who we are. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, you made me think about you talking about us being the healers of our own selves. I'm reading a book from a healer doctor who uses kind of hypnosis and things like that, but he's patients and gets tremendous results. And what he was talking about was the actual the placebo effect, and obviously there's the opposite end, which is the nocebo effect. And what he was saying was that in studies they've found that placebos work about 35% of the time. And the only element that we need for them to work is that the person who administers the placebo to us has certain authority, that we convey that authority, we project that onto them.
Right.
And that's all that needs to happen. And so they can even the people who are taking, in placebo trials are taking something knowing that there's a very, very high possibility that's nothing except a sugar pill. Even those people are still healing. So the power, and if you think, you were talking about the way that the world's been set up, which is us and authority. And that's the way it's been set up on purpose, that there's always us, powerless, and the authority with all of the power. Yeah.
And all the answers.
And all the answers and all of
we know better.
Exactly. When the tables turn, which they will, and it's something that you've talked about, when we convey that power to ourselves, we become the ultimate authority. And therefore, our attitude becomes the healing authority in us. And so that's all that needs to happen, is that authority which we've always given to people who do not deserve it at all and have done nothing to deserve it, that comes to us and we heal. And we can heal whatever, and I think the 35% is just a limitation based on the doubts that we have about, but take away those doubts and know that we, as you say, we are source, we are part, fractals of God. That's it. That's the answer, isn't it? Yeah. When we get there, well, I don't know. I think it's a journey. I think it's a journey. I think we're going to get to it's going to be a building journey until finally we get to the point where we realize that our thoughts create, and that's it. So we'll see. We'll see. What are your thoughts on God and on religion?
Oh, two separate things.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's my thoughts on that. Next. No, I mean, yeah, God is, I created a website because I was so blocked, banned, deleted, and it was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, especially on Telegram. Oh my God. I ended up in all these American groups, but hold on, and this does relate to the question about God. I don't know how. I do these digressions and I can never find where I was again. You said, what do I think about religion and God?
Religion and God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just said, didn't we, that we are God and we are aspects of God, and that it's a relationship that you only can cultivate yourself. You can't have a priest or somebody in the way. I mean, the religion's obviously been set up to control. We know that, right? Sure. I was always running around at university going, religion is the opium of the masses. Woo! Didn't realize why. But yeah, it's going to be difficult though, Gordon, for the Christians, because if I might even say something that might be a bit controversial here, and I'm not saying this is absolutely the case, but there is a theory that Jesus was not crucified, and that he and Mary Magdalene actually went off, and there are descendants on the planet now who are about to awake, right?
I read the book.
It kind of makes sense, because if Jesus was the Son of God, he wouldn't really be able to be crucified because he's a body of light. He was able to activate his light body. And why would you give them the satisfaction of crucifying him anyway? And it's almost like, I think what happened was that because maybe they tried to catch him and he was light and they were like, so they hung somebody else instead, and then made out that they had. And then this whole thing of wearing the cross with this body hanging on the cross around next to your heart. What are you saying? If you were an extraterrestrial looking at earthlings and you saw everybody walking around with a dead body broken on a cross, would you think, oh, they like putting people on crosses and they like that? We've been told, oh, we're identifying with the suffering of Christ, because then that makes you shut up about your own suffering in life when they've been doing the naughty stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like this love, light, surrender thing. Yes, within yourself, but you don't have to surrender to nonsense. We don't have to lie down and take it and suffer because some guy, apparently, I don't mean some guy, I mean, look, Jesus was real, is real, and walked the earth to show us who we are and what we're capable of, right? He said, where two or more gather and you will go and do greater things than me. I'm just letting you know. And then the Christ returning is the Christ consciousness. And we all are starting to really understand that now. And so it is, the church is this is the temple. Your pineal is your Holy Spirit, your imagination. Because I believe that the ability to imagine comes from your pineal. Mm-hmm. And so it's quite hard to imagine. You can get a kind of a vague sense of a shadow world, right? I mean, obviously as kids, you imagine things and you think they're real because it's all still fresh and new and supple and it's activated, right? But most people now have lost the ability to imagine because of the calcification of the pineal. And and that just shuts down that ability to dream. And as you asked earlier, what do I see is next and what's coming? We absolutely have to dream it into existence. I can't dream a new reality for you because I'm not you. I mean, we're in two different parts of the world. We're connected now in the ether through our words, and our consciousness is connected because we kind of get that we're on a similar vibe, right? Like so many of us. But you're in a different room. What you're looking at behind the screen is completely different from what I'm looking at. We're never, ever looking out of the same vantage point. Each of us is in our own exact pineal gland is in its own. There's nothing else is in the same time space locale as me. And so I can't expect anybody else to, make my vessel go through reality. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like it's all down to the individual, and most people are terrified of what they're going to find. If they do go in, and most people, when they sit and try and meditate, start getting those uncomfortable feelings and go, but it's literally like surgery. You have to think of it like surgery. And I'm probably going off topic again, so I'm going to pause.
That's okay. That's okay. You've said a lot of interesting things that have brought lots of things to mind. Let's see if I can order them. What I've discovered, it was something that I learned in my studies in therapy, was that if you want to get people to agree with one another, because we all come, as you said, we've all got different vantage points, we've all got different things that we want, different outcomes, etc. And so what you can do is, if you get group of people and they're all arguing amongst themselves, what you do is you chunk up and you go to higher level purpose and higher level purpose and higher level purpose until you get everybody agreeing that's what we want. And then you can come back down and sort out the details. What I'm aware with the society, with the structure that's been built, it's all built on making sure that people do not come to the same conclusion and that people do not want the same things. It's always, my sister said along when she's not awake, or well, she might be a little bit awake now, and she said, this is a binary world, right?
Yes.
Zeros or ones.
Yes, and it's 2D. We're in 2D.
Sure, but if you watch every single thing, and it's infiltrated itself, sadly, into what you might call the truth movement, which is, this is, do you believe this or do you believe this?
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, what if I don't believe any, or what if I believe it all? And and so I think what our journey is, and you've referred to this a number of times, this going inside. Our journey is to go inside, find out who the hell we are. Yeah. The emissaries talked about it, the journey, wake up to the world. First job, very important, and that's what we've been working on, speaking out and getting cancelled and all of that. The second journey is journey within. It's the second journey, and they say the journey within can only lead you to God, because when you go inside, you discover that you're God, and so it's inevitable that you're going to be led to God. So that's that beautiful journey that we're on. And there's so many people now that are starting to turn and look on the inside. But also, one of the fundamental things that we've got to do as a group, as an awakened group, is move away from this dichotomy situation of this or that. This, is the world this shape or is it this shape?
I've got an answer for that though, but it's okay. I'm joking. I don't care. I don't care. That's my answer. I don't care.
It's fascinating, but if it divides you from other people who are awakened, bad news. Anything that's going to divide us is bad news, and that's why we have to keep rising above it. We have to keep rising above it and coming to, what do we want? We want a new earth. What do we want? We want, and we want it now.
Yeah, we do. We want it now.
What do we want? We want a new earth. We want peace. We want joy. We want kindness. That's if our focus is there, the details just will sort themselves out because we're creators. We must have a very high level purpose, which is what you've been referring to as well.
Yeah, we've got to get out of our own way to get there, right? So, I mean, the thing is, it's difficult because, like for me, I've made a website because I was blocked. I ended up creating a website just so I could write loads of stuff on the website and give out cards to people and stuff. And, I realized that where's my energy going? I mean, luckily I have a lot of energy and I spend a lot of time on my own since lockdown started, because in Malaysia, couldn't go out for a year because I wasn't VE'd, and I've been put all over the news for not wearing the mask, and it was just all crazy. But that is another story that I do need to tell, because I shifted the timeline. I shifted the vibration of the police, and they were in the end saying, "What's going on?" I was like, "Well," and they were like, "Well, that makes sense." And they were kind of wanted me to go and have coffee and explain things to them, and they were saying it was awful what happened in Malaysia. It's horrific, but sure it's every country. Anyway, but yeah, you just said that. Oh God, there's just so many things. I've got all this stuff and I'm like,
these conversations do this, and then yeah. Well, because what I'm aware of is that what we can do is we can break these conversations down into pieces, because we covered a lot of subjects today, and we could, and I get the sense we could talk for 4 hours and still not complete the conversation, So it would be nice. I'd like to invite you back onto the channel in the future, and we can talk about something else. You can tell us a bit more about your experiences in Malaysia, for example. Yeah. But I think, So let's round this off. What would be your right to an awakened person who at the moment is thinking, what the hell do I do? What would be your advice?
Yeah, so actually that was what I was trying to say before. It would be just to come back to yourself and allow yourself space and time without feeling guilty that you're not going out and saving the world. Because I think that's the thing. When you wake up, it's like you have this burning desire to wake everybody else up, right? But everybody's going to wake up at their own time, irrelevant or separate from anything that you do. And so it is about just being in your own space. I love listening to the most beautiful singer. Her name's Meilan. I don't know if you've heard of her. Meilan. And she sings with this guy. She's got the crystal bowls and everything. And she's just released.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, she's released beautiful. And she sings with this guy called Ali Perez. He's like, oh, and she's like, oh, it's beautiful. And I just put that on and I just try and create a little magical space. And if I'm feeling, I just breathe. You've just got to breathe. And then you've just got to say, okay, you know what? I'm not in control, because we're not, and we're not meant to be. Have you seen that new TV series? And I know we're about to finish. It's called The Wheel of Time.
No, I haven't.
On Netflix, I think. Very interesting, actually. And what happens, they initiate a woman into the circle of the wise women. And a part of her initiation is they push her off a cliff into a river. And she goes under, and it's all rocks, and she's all over the place, and she's tumbling around. And eventually she just floats on the water and surrenders. And of course, that's what we have to do now. So all this chaos is going on in the river underneath, and people are getting bashed on the rocks. And it's like, it's just the ascension. It's a brilliant metaphor I've been given by whoever my guides are just now to, to float. And I lived in Malaysia, I had there was always a swimming pool somewhere, and I loved floating and just releasing, and you just, keeping the solar plexus, the core engaged and letting everything else go. So I would say, and also don't beat yourself up about your diet, your health, whether you drink, whether you smoke, whatever. You know what I mean? If that is what gets you through, do it. And I mean, obviously, we want the vessel to be clean and clear as possible, but the only reason it's not because, oh, you're not going to ascend if you smoke, or you're not going to ascend if you drink alcohol. It's better not to. And of course, if you're drinking and getting wasted, that's not good. But if you fancy a couple of glasses here and there, I'm not condoning it, but I'm saying it's not the be all and end all.
Everyone will be getting the wine out now.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, look at Katie Hopkins with her barefoot Merlot, and that, you know what I mean? And I always think, oh, should she be doing that? But who am I to judge? I mean, if again, it's about the frequency of it and what your intention is. So yeah, it's best to stay away and drink loads of water. But I think we beat ourselves up too much, and everybody's afraid. Like, what if I don't ascend? If you want to, you will. End of story. If your heart is like, oh, wanting to ascend, you're going to ascend, it'll work, it will happen because you want it to. All right, the only ones who aren't are the ones who go F God and the children, and the ones who are here to just destroy and eat, consume, and don't care. That's it. So it's all quite easy. It's all God's loving, this energy is loving, and once you open up and it's in you, that's the healing. You're done.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my view anyway.
Lovely, and I agree, and I resonate completely with what you said. Yeah, it's about surrender. We haven't come here as a job to wake people up. We've come here to wake ourselves up as completely as we can and be a beacon yes, that resonates and creates awakening around us. We don't even have to say anything. I will finish with a story. Just something you were saying made me think about the student who goes to the guru, and he says, you were always saying that words are wasted. Nobody can understand anything, and anything we say is just a creation in our mind. He said, so why do you keep speaking? You're always speaking, and yet you say it's not worth anything. And he said, you hear that bird that's sitting in that tree? Why is it singing? Not because it's got something to say, just because it's got a song to sing. And I think that's what we've got to see. We're here to sing our song. Why do I do videos like this? I know it's not going to wake other people up, but it doesn't matter. It's just a song that I choose to sing. Yeah. Your song that you're choosing to sing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I've been really wrestling with, I want to do videos and put out information, because I do receive a lot of information, especially when I wake up. It's all in my head, and I want to be, but I have such a phobia about public speaking and, putting myself out there. But I kind of realized that I think it would be helpful for people to hear little me sharing some things. You know what I mean? There's a tribe out there that would appreciate it. And so I'm kind of looking at it as instead of, oh, people might attack me, especially certain truthers that don't like me. I need to see it as, well, what about the people that would appreciate it? And that's where it comes to the self-love and self-acceptance. And, if I've not got my back, who's going to have my back? If I don't love me, if I don't stand up for me, if I don't think I'm fabulous and brilliant, and it's okay to think that, because I'm coming from my heart and all I want is love, joy, peace, grace, and beauty everywhere for everyone. And there's nothing wrong with that. So there's nothing wrong with me, right?
Exactly, Kerry. And the truth of the matter is that the person who will most appreciate you doing that is you.
Your soul knows.
Absolutely.
When you reject, that we suffer because we reject our higher self and our soul. We reject the whisper, and that's why we suffer. That's what causes pain.
Sure.
It's not accepting the higher self. Anyway, exactly. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I am so grateful to have been able to have this chat with you. You're amazing. I love your room. It's so cool, and your guitar at the back.
Oh, yeah, I have to learn to play it then, won't I? Oh God, yeah.
Amazing time.
It's been lovely, Kerry, and we'll get together again. Okay,
Awesome.
and watch out
Oh,
on the video. Watch out for the comments because there might be some questions for you, and you can answer the comments in the video comments. Yeah.
okay, awesome. And then
Oh,
I need to have you on for a little chat and here, and it's a
that would be
tiny little
lovely.
Telegram channel, but I do believe it will. I've had to restart them several times because of infiltrators, so I think this time we're good. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Have an
And I'll
amazing
put,
day.
if you give me your links, I'll put the links in the video, for your book and for your Telegram channel as well. Okay.
All right.
Terry, you have a lovely day. Have the
Thank
wonderful
you.
day, and I'll see you
Okay.
soon. Yeah. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.